Welcome. In this video, I am going to guide a gentle yoga flow. And for this practice today, we'll need a bolster or a couple of pillows or cushions to give us some gentle love and support. So when you're ready, we're going to come into a child's pose. So starting from sitting back on your heels, widen out your knees and bring your bolster between your legs and really kind of nestle it between coming up into your groin. And take an inhale, and on your exhale, begin to slowly allow your belly to drape over your pillow or cushion and allowing your chest to rest. And if you want to place your forehead over your hands, stacking your palms together and allowing your forehead to rest on your palms, your forehead can rest on the bolster, or taking a cheek, one on the right or on the left, and resting on the bolster. So whichever variation is comfortable for you. And we're just going to arrive here, settle in for a moment. Take a couple of breaths. Begin to notice your natural breathing. Begin to notice maybe where the breath lands in your body. So with the belly resting on the bolster, this can create some compression in the front of the body, which sends the breath in other areas. So taking note where the breath is entering and where the body is rising and falling with the breath. And just stay connected here with the breath. I'm going to share some thoughts with you on the idea of Ahimsa, which in Sanskrit translates to doing no harm. And this idea can be applied in many ways. It can be applied in terms of how we interact with others, can be applied in terms of how we interact with our environment. It can also be applied to our own thoughts of ourselves, and also in how we care for ourselves. And I think so often, especially in the world that we live in today, we tend to take for granted this amazing body that we have, that we're living this life with. This body that is our vehicle to life, that allows us to experience the great things that there are to experience in the world. And so I invite you to set an intention with me for practice today, to make this practice dedicated to showing your body love and kindness, and let it be a gesture of forgiveness for all the ways that we fail to cherish and honor our body. If your cheek is rested on one side, you can go ahead and shift it to the other. And if you feel uncomfortable in this position at all, if there's any pinching in your knees or your hips, feel free to lay your legs out long. We'll stay here for a few more rounds of breath. Just staying connected with that breath. And for our practice this evening, we're just going to do a natural, gentle breath. If you can maintain a breath coming in and out of your nose, that's great. If you need to open your mouth, that's okay too. But just using a natural rhythm and your natural breath. Keeping it gentle. Nothing is forced here. If you turned to face one direction and come back to center, allow your head to rest on your hands. Take another breath. And on your next inhale, plant your hands and slowly begin to rise up off of the bolster or cushion. And we're going to move the cushion out of the way for a few moments. And we're going to come onto our hands and knees, all fours, tabletop position, knees about hips distance apart, stacked under hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked. And shoulders stacked over wrists, hands about shoulder distance apart. We're lifting out of our shoulders, so avoiding dumping into the shoulders, so making sure we're lifting out of the shoulder. Draw your belly up and in, so suctioning this front part of your torso to the back side of your body. And tailbone is pointed straight behind you. We're going to take a few rounds of cat and cow here. So starting with our cow pose. On an inhale, you're going to, keeping that core connection, on an inhale, begin to lower your belly to the earth. Find an arch in your upper back and reach your heart forward. Allow there to be a softness in your neck and the crown of your head reaching toward the top corner of the room. Again, lifting out of the shoulders, we're not dumping here. Tailbone is reaching to the back corner of the room. The belly is still strong and active, so that might mean that this bend it's not going to be as deep. Take another inhale. Exhale, still keeping that front body suctioned toward the back body, core is engaged. Begin to round your spine, one vertebrae at a time. So lowering your tailbone to the earth, curling and rounding the spine, allowing your head to drop down toward the mat, your chin tucked in toward your chest. Again, keeping the front side body suctioned toward the back body. We'll take a couple of inhales here. And we're going to take a few breath by breath movements. So on the inhale, lowering your belly to the earth, reaching your heart to the sky, cow pose. Exhale, rounding the spine, lifting out of the shoulders, curling the chin in toward the chest, cat pose. And we'll do that a few times here. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Do that a few more times. So again, making sure that there's that suction, that strong engagement in the belly and the core. And when you are taking your inhale and your exhale, notice now where that breath is landing in the body. So on that exhale, curling the spine, where is the body contracting and where is the body expanding? One more round here. Wherever you are, finish up. Cow pose, cat pose. And when you come to cat, tuck your toes, shift your hips back, and we'll come into this extended child's pose. Lowering your belly over your thighs, allowing your forehead to drip down toward the earth. Keeping your arms reached out long in front of you. Option to grab that bolster again. If this feels like a lot on your knees, taking a blanket or even that bolster and tucking it in between your knees here, that might feel nice. Taking a few more rounds of breath. And again, noticing where the breath is falling in the body. On your next inhale, rise back up to all fours, tabletop. And on an inhale, you're going to step your right foot up between your hands, coming into the lunge. Option to keep your hands on the earth. If this feels very compressed in the upper body, you can come up and tent onto your fingertips. You can even rise up and lift off of the thigh for a low crescent variation. Take your hands, bring them to your hips. So even from the hands planted variation, bringing your hands over to your hips, and then just noticing your hip placement. So coming into this pose, was it natural for you to kind of open up your hips, so the left hip point drawing out toward the left, and see if you can actually draw that left hip point in line with the right, and both hip points pointed toward the top of your mat. Right knee is stacked over right ankle, so there's about a 90-degree bend in the knee. If there's a lot of pressure in the back knee here, another option would be to put a blanket down. And then looking back And making sure that your leg is coming right out from your backside of your body here. And then gently firming into that back foot and kind of pressing the top of the back foot into the mat behind you. And we're just going to hold here for a few more rounds of breath. Finding some balance. And noticing now that the torso is not compressed, but we are lifting out. Where is that breath going? Where is your breath landing in your body? And if you aren't already up in this low crescent pose, go ahead and rise up. Take your hands to your right thigh. Take an inhale here. And exhale, reach your hands to the sky. And here I invite you to really engage the front body and suctioning it again into the back body. So activating the muscles in your low belly, in your body, in your ribs, knitting everything together so it's suctioning back toward that side body and reaching your hands to the sky. Breathe here. Noticing where the breath lands. Again, now that we've created this constriction, where is the breath going? Where is it landing? One more inhale and exhale. Let it all go. Release your hands back down toward the mat and step your right foot back to meet the left. Take an inhale, exhale, release back, child's pose. Noticing here the differences that you're feeling between the sides of your body, the sensations that you might be feeling in one leg versus the other, sensation in your hips, your glutes. Take another breath in your child's pose. And on your next exhale, rise up onto all fours, tabletop, and let's explore our low lunge on the left side. So on an inhale, step your left foot up toward the top of the mat between your hands. Again, option to keep your hands on the earth here, tenting them up to create a release of some of the compression that might be happening in your chest, or rising all the way up, challenging the balance a little bit, bringing your hands to your left thigh. And checking in with those hip points again. So if your natural tendency was to open up, maybe drawing that right hip point in line with the left, facing the top of the mat. Knees stacked over ankle, lifting out of the hips. Take a couple more breaths here. Inhale, reach your hands to the sky. And suction your front body to the back. Activating your core. Drawing in those low ribs. And again, observing the breath here. Where is the breath landing in the body?
On your next exhale, plant your hands, step your left foot back to meet the right. Take an inhale, exhale, release one more time, child's pose. Take notice here with what you're experiencing in your body. Again, honoring what's happening in the left might be different than what's happening in the right, even after doing the same thing on both sides. Our child's pose is a really important pose. It's not only a pose of rest, but also a pose of introspection and reflection. It allows us to go within and pause in our practice to see how we're feeling. And in theme with our intention this evening, I invite you to look within and find a place in your body to plant some seeds of love. Maybe part of your body that you don't usually appreciate. Part of your body maybe you never even think about. Maybe your toenails or your eardrum, or maybe the space above your upper lip, or maybe someplace bigger. Maybe planting some seeds of love in your glutes. Maybe it's in your biceps. But going to that part of your body now, looking within. Maybe on your next inhale, sending those seeds of love to that part of the body. Take one more inhale. Exhale, rise back up to our tabletop. Draw your right knee in toward your right wrist. And you're going to draw your left foot toward the left side of your mat. Now, you may traditionally see this pose cued in a way that will torque your right knee and make it extremely uncomfortable. So the purpose of this pose today is to find a little bit of effort, but a lot of ease. Because again, we're sending love, kindness, and we're making a gesture of gratitude and forgiveness toward our body. So right knee toward right wrist, and drawing the left foot over as far as it feels good without hurting your knee, and really still creating a little bit of ease. So we might come into this pose and you'll need to come back out and adjust, and that's perfectly fine. We want this to feel good. So, and then lowering the back leg down to the mat, releasing your hips toward the earth. And then taking your bolster and snuggling it underneath your right hip. I'm actually going to switch sides so you can see a little bit better. Right knee toward right wrist, releasing my right foot toward the left side of my mat. Bringing my bolster over, placing it underneath my right hip here. And then take an inhale. And then look over your left shoulder and just check to see that your left foot, your left leg is coming out of your left hip in a straight line. So just avoiding it being slayed out too far over to the left or to the right. But again, playing with what feels comfortable in your body. So if that requires a lot of effort, do what comes natural with that look. I'm going to take another inhale. And on an exhale, begin to lower down to the earth, coming onto your forearms. I forgot to introduce my dogs. I have my baby dinosaur, Ollie, here. And my mini dinosaur, Bruiser. And he's snoring in the other corner over here. And pets are often a really great reminder of all of the love that we are entitled to and deserve. They love without judgment. They love without boundaries. So I invite you to explore the same for your body tonight. To love unconditionally. And we've been here for a couple of breaths. If you'd like to lower a little bit closer and further down toward the earth, you can stack your palms, create a little pillow, resting your forehead down onto your palms. And if this just feels like too far, too much, you can come back up onto your forearms. You can even come back up to your hands. And again, just playing with that foot adjustment. So if something feels better, I personally like my left heel to be really close. My right heel. So onto one arm on the right side. I like my right heel to be really close to my groin. And that's just what's comfortable for me in my body. But play around with that. So maybe if you want your right foot, I keep saying left, your right foot to be closer to your left hand, you can try that. Or any variation in between that feels good today. And again, in this pose, noticing the breath. Noticing, again, we're in a somewhat constricted posture in our front torso, our front body. And where is our breath landing? Maybe we can feel the energy traveling to our hips. Take another inhale. And on your exhale, begin to slowly come back up. Again, if you went all the way down, coming to forearms, from forearms up to your hands. And tucking your left toes, removing your bolster, and drawing your right knee to come back and meet the left. We're actually going to sit back onto our heels and come onto our bums. We're going to tick-tock our knees. So coming into this seated variation, hands planted behind you. Allow your feet to be about hips distance apart and maybe a couple feet out from your hips. And then just allow your knees to tick-tock from side to side. That should feel really nice. And then just noticing here, taking pause, and just noticing the difference in your sides, what one side might feel like, how your right feels versus your left. And then when you're ready, cross your legs and just roll forward, coming back into your tabletop pose. I'm going to turn back around to face this way to demonstrate the left side. So coming back to tabletop, drawing your left knee in toward your left wrist and bringing your left foot to whatever degree is comfortable toward the left side of your mat. Drawing your right leg down and slowly beginning to release your hips, taking your bolster and nestling the bolster underneath your hip. Just holding here for a few moments, maybe checking over your right shoulder, looking in on your right leg. And as we hold here, avoid dumping in the shoulders. We still want some activation here, so we're pushing and lifting out of our shoulders. Take another inhale. And as you exhale, begin to slowly lower to the earth, coming onto your forearms. We'll breathe here, a couple more rounds of breath. If you'd like to lower closer to the earth, maybe using your hands as little cushions, stacking palms, releasing your forehead to the earth. Breathing in and out. And observing here again what's happening with the breath. Where's the breath going in the body? In this somewhat constricted posture, how have we changed the flow of our breath? Another inhale. And next exhale slowly again, coming up from the earth to your forearms, forearms to hands. Pause here for a moment. Tuck your right toes, lift out of your hips, remove your bolster. Set your bolster aside for a moment. Step your left knee to cut back to meet the right, and then shifting back onto your heels and coming into a seat. Finding that tick-tocking motion again to release and counter out of that pose. And let this feel good. Take a couple more inhales. Bring into center and just noticing how your body feels. And when you're ready, rolling onto your spine, releasing your back and head and arms to the earth. Drawing both knees in toward the chest, maybe gently holding the knees, but nothing tight, nothing forceful. Just a loving touch from your hands onto your shins or your knees. Begin to shift to the left and to the right. Just gently massaging out the low back. And go slow here. Be very intentional about this movement and really try to tune in every little sensation from your low back, touching the earth very slowly, just noticing, and maybe noticing again the difference in size. Using the breath to send some love and some kindness into our low back here. Come back to center. Allow your feet to come back down to the earth, so knees are still bent. Draw your right ankle over and cross over your left thigh. And see if you can start to point your right knee toward the top of your mat or toward the front of the room. Keeping your right foot flexed. So we don't need this to be a super powerful, active movement, but see if you can find something in the middle. So instead of complete rest, find maybe a level 5 out of 10 activation. And just hold here for breath. And if this feels good and you want to stay here, and really, if it feels good, stay. If you want to feel something different, begin to draw your left knee toward your chest. So this is going to change the positioning of your foot in your right foot in your right knee. But see if you can keep the right knee still pointing toward, so there's still the activation of pointing toward the top of the mat. So begin drawing in the left, still creating the activation in the right knee, and then maybe finding an interlace with your hands behind your left thigh and holding here. Avoid any type of tension in the shoulders or any type of big lifting out. This should be very passive. Shoulders should be relaxed. The hands clasped behind the left thigh are really just to provide some a release of effort and support to that left leg, and to help you kind of draw in the left leg to provide support and then deepen the sensation and the experience that you might be having in the right leg. And so in this posture, we've got a few things that are being compressed. We have our spine that's on the mat and on the earth, it's connecting to the earth. So naturally, that would limit the movement of the breath out of the spine and probably into the front body. This can also be constricting to the front body. So just noticing maybe where you're feeling the breath come in here, and how you're moving the breath in this posture. Your next exhale, release your left leg, let your left foot plant down onto the earth. Another inhale here. Draw your arms out to the side like a T, and slowly allow your limbs to drop over toward the left. Our right foot will plant down on toward the earth, flat onto the earth. If that feels too far away, you can grab your bolster or cushion. If you have a block, you can place your foot also on a block, but something to allow you to still fully release here. You want to be able to fully release your foot to the earth. Keeping that left arm drawn out, right arm out to the right side, and See if you can actively root your right shoulder down into the earth. And that might increase the sensation that's happening in this side body stretch, in this side body, in this twist. So actively rooting down with the right shoulder. Another option, taking your left hand, you can begin to gently push the right knee toward the front of the room or the top of the mat again. That will change the sensation potentially in your right hip. Or you can even gently begin to pull the right knee down toward the earth to your left. And then change the sensation again in this twist. So just experimenting or leaving it exactly as it was, just experimenting. And I invite you to choose the option that honors your body tonight. The option that feels the best. Take another inhale. Exhale, come back to center. Release your right foot to the earth. Tick-tock your knees from side to side. Come back to stillness. Cross your left ankle over the right thigh. Flexing the left foot. And again, begin finding that activation, that pull, that drawing of the left knee toward the top of the mat or the front of the room. Hold here for a couple of breaths before considering the other option. If this feels good, I encourage you to stay right here. If you want to consider another option, begin drawing in that right knee in toward your chest. And just again noticing what's happened in the legs, in your left legs. So drawing that left knee back toward the front of the mat, keeping the right foot, the left foot flexed. And an option to interlace the fingers behind the thigh of the right leg. Releasing your shoulders to the earth, releasing any tension from your shoulders. Hold and breathe here. Release, gently let go of your right thigh, release the right foot to the earth. Stretch your arms out to the side like a T again. And on next exhale, release your legs down to the earth, to the right. Allowing your left foot to plant down onto the earth. Again, option to put a bolster to bring the earth to your foot, or use a block, making sure that there's some rest in that leg. Root your left shoulder down into the ground, pressing firmly into your mat with your shoulder. And then exploring the option of leaving your knee just as it is. Maybe taking your right hand, pushing the knee out toward the front of the mat. Or option to draw it down closer to the earth. And pick the option that best suits what you need today. What feels good. And maybe acknowledging that what you need on this side is different than what you needed on the right side. A couple more breaths here. Inhale, come back to center. Release your left foot down to meet the right. Now we'll take one final pose here. Take a happy baby pose. So drawing your knees out wide, drawing them in toward your armpits, keeping your low back still pressed into the earth. And then the option for your hands, you can either take hands to shins and pull in your knees in toward your armpits. You can reach the outside of your feet and drawing your knees into your armpits here. Or taking your 2-piece fingers and wrapping them around your big toe and pulling in from your big toe. Now, whichever variation you've taken, again, just making sure that your low back is pressed into the earth. And you're drawing your knees in toward your armpits. Take another inhale. Exhale, draw your knees back together. Finding a gentle clasp one more time with your hands on your shins or on your knees. On your exhale, release your feet to the earth. Allow your feet to be wider than the width of your mat. So your feet are actually coming off of your mat and turning your toes out toward the side. I'm going to scoot back so you can see me, so you can see my feet. So feet are off of the mat. And allow your feet to open up wide. Arms come down to your sides, palms of your hands rest on the earth. And your hands come out a little bit more than a foot, maybe 2 feet out from your side. And then nestle your shoulders underneath your body. Close your eyes. And do one more scan of the body. One more scan of the breath. Where is the body receiving the breath? Can you use your intention of love, kindness, gratitude, and send those intentions to that part of your body? Close your eyes. And let everything go. And rest in these next few minutes of Shavasana. Please feel free to continue to rest if you have the time. It is an honor to share with you my experience and the love I have for this beautiful practice. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste. Bruiser, do you want to say goodbye? Want to say goodbye to our friends? Come here. Come here. Oh. And this is sweet Bruiser. Yes, I'm so sweet. Oh, I'm so sweet. I'm so sweet baby. I'm so sweet baby. I love you, baby.